Well, I think when we come in, I always say we're an infinite spark that chose this body for an experience in Earth School. And we come here with all of this, hi,
Yeah,
hi,
yes.
hi. And it's like, no, you're too loud. Okay, in this box. You're too tall,
Yeah.
too small, too big, too fat, too this, too that, ba 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 ba. And so people tend to like shrink themselves so they can fit this reality, which we'll call a box. And this reality doesn't work anyway. So you want to get into a club that doesn't work?
I don't want to be a member of that.
Welcome to Out of the Box with Christine. Are you willing to step into your greatness? Are you ready to shine? Well, get ready, Truth Seeker. You're in for an amazing ride. And now, here's the host of the show, Christine Blosdale.
Welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your host, Christine Blosdale. I am a business success and media coach. I help entrepreneurs of all stripes get the word out about their business through podcasting, publishing, videos, TikToks, you name it, anything to do with media. I am your person. And today I am very excited to have on the show someone who's near and dear to my heart because I love coaching. I love being a coach. And this is someone who has been doing this for quite some time and is quite successful as well. Susan Lazar Hart is a transformational mindset coach, a creator of the Congruent Living Academy, and author of Breaking Free, Your Unique Path to Fearless Living. And we are going to be talking about living our fearless life right now in the next couple minutes. And I'm super excited to have you join me, Susan Lazar Hart. Welcome to Out of the Box.
Well, thank you, Christine. I love out of the box. I just love that whole out of the box. Like, why bother being the box?
Well, there's too many boxes.
Ah,
So many bucks. I hate when people say, like, well, I understand when they say, what do you do? Oh, you're a cocktail party or something. So what do you
yeah,
do? I understand that. But,
yeah,
the thing of being identified as a this or a that, or, are you wrapped in a blue bow or a red bow? Talking politics, right? But yeah, I like the idea of thinking outside the box. Why can't we just be a little mishmash of everything?
Well, I think when we come in, I always say we're an infinite spark that chose this body for an experience in Earth School. And we come here with all of this, hi,
Yeah,
hi,
yes.
hi. And it's like, no, you're too loud. Okay, in this box. You're too tall,
Yeah.
too small, too big, too fat, too this, too that, ba 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 ba. And so people tend to like shrink themselves so they can fit this reality, which we'll call a box. And this reality doesn't work anyway. So you want to get into a club that doesn't work,
I don't want to be a member of that.
right? Come
You're
on.
so
Yeah.
true. It's so true. Yeah, because when you see, babies and they have this all absorbing, what's the world got for me type thing.
Yeah.
And then you're right. As we go through life, you know, no, 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 don't be too big. And then school will
Yeah.
conform you. Religion, school, community, all those different things will start to shove you down into that little box. And no wonder people have, no wonder there's like, an explosion of addiction and depression and anxiety. We're these big, huge spirits being shoved into a tiny little box,
We
right?
are for sure. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you help people get out of that box yourself. So talk about I love this, the idea of congruent living, the Congruent Living Academy. What is a congruent life?
Well, that's a really great question to ask somebody.
That's why
Because
I'm asking you.
because because congruent life is when everything is in homeostasis, where your desires, your dreams, your explorations, your curiosities are all in alignment with who you truly be, your foundation. Let's
Mm,
say your foundation is about curiosity and discovery and kindness and compassion and adventure and sexualness and connection. And so are you choosing a life, a living, a relationship, money flows a body that's connected to sexualness, kindness, compassion, caring. People say, yes, I am those things. And then they put them in a box and they say, I'll bring them out later when I'm accomplished or when I'm successful, or I'll do that with my relationship, but I'm not going to do that with my business. So congruent really is there's no like what the bleeps.
Mm-hmm.
It's knowing that whatever you're choosing is going to be in alignment with what brings you joy, which what creates the greatest amount of possibilities. And it's important to remember when we talk about possibilities, we talk about appreciation. We
Yeah.
talk about gratitude, because we shift and change every day. And it's that, is this congruent? Does this add to my life and living? Is another way of saying, is this congruent? Will this bring me joy? Is another way of saying, is this congruent?
Mm.
Who am I today? And what grand and glorious adventure can I be, do, have, create, change, choose, and institute in a way that's congruent with who I am being in the world, with the imprint that I'm making, with the light that I'm shining, with how I'm asking to connect. So does that help you at all?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And there's a couple things too that were like, really resonated with me, is this idea of an imprint, right?
Mm-hmm,
because we tend to, as adults, or as adolescents, perhaps, we go through life and we react to a lot of things, right? We spend our whole day sometimes reacting, and we don't take stock of the energy that we are emitting out into the world or into our home. A lot of times it's just those reactions, oh, the clock, the alarm clock. Oh, I wish I could sleep some more because I'm really tired. Oh, I've got to get up. I've got to right. And we don't realize that's an energy, number one, which is very powerful, and it creates a second layer. Like it's almost like putting on clothes that are a little bit tight, a little uncomfortable and tight, but we don't even know that we're uncomfortable and tight. And
Well,
I think we need to be aware that we have a lot of power with just our emotions, right? Yeah.
You said that beautifully, that it's too tight. So what happens is, a little child, you're told everything that's wrong with you. And you're told to react. It's your job to react rather than be aware. Because nobody's interested in your awareness as a little child. You're asked questions that aren't questions. Did you do that? Who do you think you were being? Don't you realize that was rude? So you start to say, oh, okay, in order to get fed, clothed, and taken care of, I need to respond in a way that my caretaker is responding back to me. So I'll learn to react and respond without thinking. I'll learn to just do instead of being aware. And it is too tight because you're this infinite being. You're this infinite spirit. And I love the way you say it's like putting on a sweater that's too tight. And that's why I guess I wrote the book, Breaking Free. Because you can break out of that sweater, right?
Yes.
And it's a lot easier than you think if you're willing to be present, to live in the question, and to be compassionate to that younger self that was just trying to survive.
Absolutely. And because we are hard on ourselves, aren't we?
We're taught
really,
to.
we can be very, very
We're taught
tough.
to be. We're taught. You have done better? Like, look at schools. It's grading. Gee, I thought I was doing well. I remember a great little short story in grade 6. We graduated in Montreal in grade 6, or we did in those days. And I went up to my teacher and I showed her my report card. And in those days, it was E, V, G, G, F, U. And E for excellent, G for good, VG for very good, F for failure, and U for unbelievably get out of here.
Right. Right.
And almost everything was F plus. And I went to my teacher after graduation and I said, I don't understand. Why did you give me these grades? And she said, just be grateful I passed you. Well, lucky for me, I knew I'm like, you're not my tribe.
Yes.
and I'm out of here. But how many people are treated like that in the school system? I was supposed to be put in a mentally challenged class in high school based on this teacher's decision of who I was and what I was. I was a space cadet.
Right.
Right? I was just a space cadet trying to get through elementary school.
And we all learn differently as well. We all get excited and learn so differently. I love where you said, you're not my tribe. And when you're a kid, there are moments where you go, you are not my tribe. Yeah. I remember I grew up in kind of a rough neighborhood in Los Angeles. And so when it was time to go to school, my parents, thankfully, found the only private school they could. And it was a very strict Baptist. Now, we're not talking Baptist like where there's gospel, music and everybody's happy. We're talking the other Baptist where, I was one time I think walking down the hallway and, as a kid, you're like, do, I was just kind of being a dork. And a teacher grabbed me and said, you're dancing. And I was like, well, not really. I'm just kind of being a dork. And they were like, and that's the devil's work. And I went, you're not my tribe. Right. Another time was going into chapel because every day you had to go to chapel. And I remember the pastor, preacher, whoever he was, talking about relationships and talking about husbands and wives and families and everything. And the thing was the message was kind of like, listen, girls, when you grow up and you become a wife, sometimes your husband, might be frustrated when he comes home and he might like lash out at you or, yell at you. Just know that he's had a rough day. And again, I say in my little head, you are not my tribe. Right?
Yeah.
And it's a big, loud message, especially when you're a kid, that you hear those things. Where is it? Do we just get worn down with the pressure that we start to go, okay, I'll be a member of your tribe and try and get along? Is it the thing where the back in the olden days we lived in a cave and we were worried about being pushed out and eaten by a dinosaur?
I think it is. I think that we're taught very early fight or flight. And we're taught in order to survive, you have to get along.
Yeah.
And it's I always say it's who was it who wrote the book, The Outliers? Malcolm.
I don't know.
Anyway, but those of you who are listening to this wonderful podcast of Christine's, you're outliers. You're not meant to fit in the box. You never were. You always knew that. And so the people that come to me as clients and who are in the Congruent Living Membership Academy, they know that there's more. And so you don't connect with that until you start to acknowledge yourself. Oh, I'm okay to stand up on my own 2 feet. And that's part of what the teenage years are all about. And you start to realize, oh no, that doesn't lift me up. I don't feel good when I'm with those people, when I listen to that diatribe, when I am told I'm part of a data.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I went through 3 schools in 4 years in high school. And at the same time, I was elected class valedictorian. I was editor of the school yearbook at this. It was like, I'm like, hi, want to live out loud? Let's go. It was just the faculty that had a problem with me, not the students. Yeah. And that's where deep inside what's true for you. You just have it tamped down and tamped down and tamped down. Some people have it punished out. Some people have it eradicated, but it's always there. And that's the gift of how we live now, is there's so much information on just being quiet with you, just asking yourself those questions, putting your hands on a tree. So tell me what you know.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And there is quite a bit of pressure, especially in the adolescent, teenage years and such. There's so much pressure to fit in or to have that, to connect to a tribe, even if it's a dysfunctional one, right? but to belong, because I think we have that thing where we belong to a family, and if it's a proper family or if it's a dysfunctional family or an unsafe family, we'll start to separate ourselves from those people. You're not my tribe because you're not safe. So then when we go to school, we try and find that other family, right? We try and find those other brothers and sisters, with air quotes, that we can connect with, because we have this desire to belong somewhere, somehow.
Belonging.
It's that belonging.
It's a longing.
Yeah.
It's a longing. We're the only species on the planet that believes we can do everything by ourselves. We are the only species. Think of a flock of geese, a pride of lions. We're we're a what of humans?
Yeah.
A box of humans, right? We are the only species on the planet that wants to have everything stay the same. But the truth is, we're growing, we're shifting, we're changing every nanosecond.
Yeah.
And that's something we need to be taught to admire about ourselves as adolescents. That's something we need to, and they are bringing meditation now into schools, and they are giving time for and space for all different kinds of beings to interplay with each other. And the truth is, we are all connected. We're all connected, and it's this huge evolutionary process that we need to grow beyond. Because especially now, when we're learning more about the universe, when we're learning more about guides and archangels, and that there are more planets than we can even count, that we are part of this huge, amazing system of solar, lunar, in every way. And that's where we came from.
Right.
Right. So, when you spot somebody and you feel like, oh, that's a soul sister, or that, oh, have I known you in another life, or whatever that is, you just connect. It's because, yes, you have. and it's the same thing. If we could, I love to go in and talk to young women in workshops and offer them some alternative ways of being present. And again, part of that is we've never been taught to be compassionate with ourselves.
Right. Exactly.
Just to turn back and say, I'm so sorry I can turn to my little self when I feel myself judging, and no, that's not congruent with what I want to create in the world. And I can turn to that younger self and say, I'm so sorry you were taught to judge. And it's those things we can start implementing in the high schools. It's those things we can start being present with. Because the more we're present with that, we create a ripple.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I've got little grandbeings, they're 8 and 11. And I actually painted the painting on the book, Breaking Free. I did when I was 19, hitchhiking around the world, carrying my paints with me. And I kept it. And it was on a wall in our house. And my little grandbeing said to my daughter, Mommy, that's Nana's painting that's on her book. And so how cool is it for her to see that no matter what age or stage you're at, you honor what you do, and you never know where it will take you. I mean, that's our job for the children that are following in our footsteps, is to be a pattern interrupt and show them there's this way and this way and this way and that way and this way. And would you like to choose?
Giving them that opportunity to go beyond, to get outside of the box. Exactly.
Yeah.
I love what you said too earlier when you talking about that we are all one, and it's a concept, or it's a phrase that people will hear, but they won't make that connect, especially when it comes to, they'll go, oh yes, we are all one. And then the next minute, they'll be those Democrats, or, those Republicans, or, those people, those people. I hate that phrase, but the divisiveness, right, is, and we can see it play out in our world very much. But I know for myself that one time I had a near-death experience, and it's different for everybody. But I have spoken to quite a few people who have had NDEs, near-death experiences, and they very similar stories to myself, where at that point where you're dying, it's time to call it quits at this point. Here, it's a whole new beginning, and you are connected to everything. Like literally, you are connected to the rocks, the soil, the birds, the everything. Things that are, alive and breathing, which is everything, because you realize that everything is alive and breathing, but you are connected to it. And it is the most amazing, beautiful, and you can't even describe it, the feeling that is. So I know for me that that's something that I've experienced, and it gives me a completely different perception of the world, around. Not that I suggest that people have near-death experiences in order to have that. But I was wondering, have you ever had a near-death experience?
I haven't. I've had interactions with entities
Okay, yeah.
in which I remember being in Philadelphia when I was around 17 and in college, and laying on the top of my bed, sitting up saying, I know that there's nobody else and I'm in charge of me. And this huge energy was like, really? And pushed me right down. And that was my first introduction formally. And just little things. I was working with a client, and we had lost our dog, transferred over. And all of a sudden, this black dog walks in front of us. Now, this is in my kitchen, in the room off my kitchen. And I said to the client, "Did you see that?" And she goes, "No." I said, "Oh, okay." So after she left, I looked at shelters. I drew a circle for an hour, shelters that were, and there was that black dog saying, "What do you need to be do? Hit on the head? Come and get me."
Oh,
So we have those connections all along. Another, there's so many of them where they're here. I just went down to a bathtub in our house where there's nobody, and it was filled with black hair. And I'm like, well, that's bizarre. And of course, I don't ask a question, and I clean it up. Lots of black long hair. And I'm like, well, there was a plumber here. Maybe he emptied some. I don't know. About 4 days later, there's black hair, but less. And I clean it up. And then yesterday, I go down there and there's some black hair. And I'm like, Susan, obviously someone's trying to talk to you.
wow.
You're just not listening. They're giving you information. I can smell entities. Like, I don't smoke cigarettes, and when there's cigarette smoke, I know there's an entity. Generally, there'll be a smell that is not congruent with whatever's going on. And I know there's somebody who's wanting to talk to me. I always ask for signs. Show me I'm on the right way, and I find dimes. If I ask, I see a dime. And I looked it up because I'd be about to board a plane, and there'd be a dime right there where they go to check your ticket. And I'd say, "Is that your dime?" She goes, "No, I don't know how it got here." I'm like, got it. Thank you.
Yes.
And so it means that you're being looked out for. You're on the right path. Just keep going.
It's just a signpost.
Yeah. We're taught, again, it's so silly. We're taught I'm the boss of me. We're taught, might makes right, all of that stuff. And it's about loving yourself enough to open up to all the information that's here for us. And it's right here.
And that's
right here.
Is that what you work with your clients as well? Is tapping into all of that surrounds us as well?
Yes, it's if they can receive it.
If they're in that space to receive it.
I always say, talk to what someone can hear. And so generally people come to me, they're in the middle of their lives, and they're like, I thought I'd be a contender. I thought this or that. And I say, okay, so what would you love? And that takes courage. That takes courage to answer that question, because we're filled with stories of what something can't happen. And the brain loves a story. The brain loves a good story. And so to just calibrate to a different story, it takes courage. What would I love? I mean, how many times were you told as a little being, you can't have that? Think just for you ask for something, it's going to show up? You think it's easy? You think life's easy?
Right.
And so you buy that as real and true. And you forget to ask as an adult, what would I love? What would I love? How would I love to feel? Where would I love to live? Who would I love to be with? And then that's where we start. And so then we break it down into what's your first step? I'm a big believer in take a baby step that you can do every day. So you honor your word to yourself. Maybe it's just going for a walk in the morning. You want to get more fresh air? You want to move your body? Go for a walk in the morning. Just 10 minutes. But honor your word to you. And again, it takes courage to honor your word to yourself because we're taught blame, shame, regret. And we know that those are the lower energies on the scale of really being us. Yeah.
Yeah, there is. I don't know what the name of that scale is, but yeah, I know those emotions are very low energy, can also take you down a spiral as well.
Correct.
Down. I equate it to like when you empty the water in a bathtub, and the water goes down, and we, God, some people can live their whole lives in that space, right? In that energy flow. So you get to work with people to take those baby steps.
Take those baby steps. What would you love? And then let's add them all up.
Yeah.
So for instance, if you're afraid to leave the house, who could you go with? What would that look like? What would that feel like? Tell me, if you could leave the house, where would you go? What would you do? And let's see about how we could move that along. And the other thing is I'm in that quest to live your life in solitude. We forget that mentors are here to support you.
Exactly.
And that brings me the greatest joy, knowing that there's somebody who can lean in and feel supported as they choose their life, not me, as they choose their life. Because the thing is, once you succeed at one little thing, all of a sudden your brain is going like, oh, here's a new story.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that can get in the car and go for a car drive, or I'm the kind of person that can create a kind of business that brings me joy, or I'm the kind of person that can be in a relationship with someone. I'm the kind of person that can be in a relationship with myself.
And you start a whole new pattern.
Then you calibrate, just like, when you're in the car and you're listening to the radio and you don't like the station.
You turn it, you change it.
In the old days, you used to turn the knob. Now you just punch something. But you're calibrating to a station you like. You're calibrating to music that brings you joy, or to a talk show that lightens you up. We do that all the time. We just don't do it with ourselves. And that's something that we need to be taught. It's okay. If somebody says, well, wow, you're not who you used to be. You're like, you're damn right I'm not.
I love that. I love that. And now, Susan, we had mentioned before we started recording the show, you had mentioned laser coaching. Can you talk about that? What is laser coaching?
Laser coaching is, we get right to it. We get right to it. And so I offer 3 different kinds of coaching. One is a VIP coaching, in which we meet every other week and we work together for 45 minutes. And we have a pretty good plan for the next 6 months. It's what would you love? And we go for that. Then there's the Congruent Living Academy, which is a membership academy, which is really about interpersonal transformation. And I send them wisdom books, my gift to them. We get into these conversations in which they really open up to their own awareness of themselves. And then laser coaching is, I call it unlimited laser coaching. And it's 15 minutes on your time, your calendar. So in other words, it's not pre-booked. When something comes up, you got me in your pocket. Now we have a discussion to see if we're a good fit. But there are some people who they just need that accountability buddy. They just need somebody who they can lean into, who has no point of view, who's been there, who's done that. I mean, 72, raised, 4 kids, 2 little grandbeings, been with the same partner for 46 years, right? I've been a painter. I milked cows in Israel. I worked for apple farmers in Norway. I ran in Pamplona with the bulls when women weren't allowed to. You name it, I've been there. If I wasn't dancing to it, I was drinking to it, and I won't tell you what else I was doing. But that's what a full life is. And so to have a coach like myself, where we just laser right in to what it is that you want to change today, now. And the thing about laser coaching is you can't make another appointment till you actually do your homework. I call it home play. So if I worked with somebody they had a PhD in writing and they wanted to do this script, they had to get the whole relationship with their father out of their way first. And she signed up for a year of laser coaching. And we'd meet every week and it would be, okay, here's another chunk we can get rid of. Here's another chunk, until she felt so free that she joined a script writing group. And now it's an amazing movie and music and all of that. And she's out there flying out in the universe, right? But there's certain things when we say, what would you like? You got to get the other stuff out of the way. So my question would be, what are you resisting? And if somebody says, I just can't do this. So is that true? And again, I keep saying it takes courage, right? It takes courage. This is your life, nobody else's. You look at your life through the lens that you look at it through. I can't possibly look at your life. And if you find a mentor or coach who says, I see what you're seeing, run. Because they can get close, but you're the one that has to choose your life. And that's what I help people do, is choose something that lights them up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love the concept of laser coaching. I'm working on implementing it myself, because I like also that that there's someone there, and when it's a wonderful offer, because it's unlimited coaching, and people go, what? But I do like the accountability aspect. Now, we've had the 15 minutes, we've solved this issue, or we've dealt with this, we've broached this subject. Now your home play or your homework or your assignment before you book the next session is to do XYZ, right? XYZ. I like that, because it makes you accountable as somebody who's trying to get better in life, or have improve their business, whatever, or their health, wellness, right? It just makes them accountable. I love that idea.
And you know what? When I was a painter for 30 years, and I got heavy metal poisoning, and I went really deep into, well, if I'm not a painter, who am I?
Right. Oh.
And right, if I'm not a printmaker, who am I? Because we were always told, and that was a great way for people to leave me alone. She's crazy. She's a painter. And so what I did was I just delved deep into interpersonal transformation. Like, where did I buy that I had to be a something? And so with laser coaching, it's really getting in there, and really, who did you buy that from? And here's your home play. And it's not about figuring something out. It's a baby step. It could be just picking up that phone and calling that person. You say, I really want to reach out to them, and I don't have the courage, or I'm afraid, or whatever. And we work through that. And you call me as soon as you've made that phone call. Or you contact me if you're like 2 weeks. I reach out to my clients. If I say, okay, what's happening? What's happening? And I love that. Yeah. Part of the growth.
And there's one thing too about us coaches who really love what they do, who are very passionate about what they do, is that we are also growing and learning alongside our clients, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, because I don't want to be anybody's guru. I don't want to be anybody's, you can enjoy the work that I do and get a lot out of it, but I am no one's guru, and I'm learning alongside my clients, because there's so much to explore and there's so much to participate in. So it's just exciting. It's so exciting to meet a fellow coach who I believe is part of my tribe. Yeah, Susan.
Hey.
So Susan, so how can people get in touch with you? What's the best?
They can go SusanLazarHart.com. That's my website. We've got all my offers of what I do and how I play. And you can find my blogs there. And if people are really interested in seeing if they're congruent, they can go to susanselfcheck.com. You'll see that on the website. It's called the Transformation Toolkit. And it's really about checking in with yourself. It's for you. It's not a sales thing. It's for you to check in and say, am I really congruent with where I thought I'd be, how I am, all of that, all the good questions that we just don't ask ourselves. But definitely check it out, susanselfcheck.com. And yeah, go to my website, susanlazarhart.com.
And we'll put links to both of those spaces for our listeners. So for those of you who are interested in checking it out, just go to the show notes and there'll be a direct link to susanlazarhart.com and also susanselfcheck.com so you can check that out. Thank you again, Susan, for being with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And you're welcome back anytime. Just you know how to reach me. You just get
I will. Watch out. I will.
All right. Thank you again, Susan. And thank you, wonderful listeners and viewers, those of you who are watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you share the show if you find that it really inspired you or it helped you in some way. If you want more information about myself and all the different things that I'm doing, I do a lot. So if you want to find out more about my coaching, about the podcast, I'm developing another podcast that is very close to being launched. So if you want to find out all those details, you can go to christineblosdale.com. There'll be a link in the show notes as well. And until next time, as I always say, remember to think outside that damn box. Bye for now.